In today's lesson, we will discuss dependency theory in relation with post-colonial studies. And in this lesson, our main focus will be what is dependency theory, how did dependency theory develop. Now, before we take a start, we really need to say that what is exactly the focus of dependency theory. Now, when we try to look around the world and the countries, we see that certain countries do have certain economic relations where a group of countries or specific countries, they are more powerful, rich, as compared to the countries which are poor, and in terms of the resources, they are being or have been marginalized since long. So this power relationship between the countries or the group of countries is what is the focus of dependency theory. So it sees powerful countries, they actually cause the poverty in the poor countries through colonization, through colonialism, or the work of multinationals. Further, this map will help you to understand what exactly this relation. Just an overview. We will use this map again, but at the moment, just look at this map and see that countries across the globe are colored have been colored in three. Some countries are colored orange, some are yellow, and some are pale green. Um, and you see that orange are core, yellow are semi-periphery, and pale green are periphery. Um, if we see the number we look at it, we will see these details in coming lecture, but at the moment just find it out, just focus that this is the main categories under which we place the number of the countries in terms of their economic conditions. So we have core. In some, they may be called a center as well. They are Canada, USA, France, Spain, Germany, Austria, Belgium, Norway, North Ireland, even or Australia, and even Japan, to name the few. Semi-periphery countries painted in yellow, they are across the different continents. For example, in America, there are Mexico, Brazil, and although Argentina has not been labeled, but it's just that it's the country of South America. Then the periphery, majority, as you see, most of the countries are mostly they are in pale green, like most of African countries, except the yellow one in Africa is South Africa. The rest of the countries are in pale green. Likewise, in Asia, we have, except for Japan, which is the center or the core country, most of the countries are semi-periphery or periphery. Now let's hold here for a while and then see further that what does this dependency theory really criticize about this categorization of the countries as core, semi-periphery, and periphery. So we are actually looking at it that again this term is used for these periphery countries in third world, and so there is the change in the third world, you can say the poor countries, and this change in these poor countries or the third world countries, that is because of the capitalism, the capitalist system of the Western European countries. And how did they do it? It is through the world market, and again the same imperialism and colonialism. So One for sure that this dependency theory has time and again criticized the issues of and this imbalance of power relationship between the countries, the economic power relationship across the countries. So, if we look at it, so we find that this dependency theory actually, although it does have a certain criticism, but it mainly takes into account the issues of imbalance of power. How did it begin? It actually began in 1950 under the guidance of the Director of United Nations Economic Commission for Latin America, and it was at that time that Paul Bush was quite and the members of his team, they were very much troubled with the economic activities of these the rich countries, that they don't exactly solve any economic issues of the poor countries, but they actually add to the problems of the poorer countries. So what they had seen was that it was this Economic Commission for Latin America, and so this does not really help economic activity, economic growth of powerful or the rich countries do not exactly help and do not solve the economic problems of the poorer countries. Then this as a result they cannot lead to the growth cannot lead to the growth in the poorer countries. So what happens is, the central concern of course is that this um, uh, dependency theory really takes into account that how do we understand these causes of inequality. So it does really run counter to the new classical theory, which assumed that economic growth anywhere across the world is actually beneficial to all. The dependency theory does not actually, it highlights that there is economic growth in a core country does not really help the economic growth in the periphery country. Now, here, when we look at now, this image indicates how does a core country or core countries control the periphery countries through this cycle of trade. Uh, so the phenomena is very straightforward, that poor countries or the countries, the periphery countries, a marginalized country, export the primary commodities to the rich countries. And then these rich countries or the countries at the center really they manufacture the products out of those commodities, and then they sell it back to these periphery countries or marginalized countries. And then and the products, the finished products sold to these periphery countries, they have the value added, and which costs more than the primary products or the raw material used to create these products. So as a result, the poorer countries, they can never earn enough from these export earnings to pay for their imports. So in the next session, then we will discuss in detail about this how the background of this relationship in terms of world systems theory and the beginning of capitalism. Thank you.